I know that we have our next speaker in the house and super excited with this beautiful backdrop of purple. And Susan was so active in participating with the theme of this summit, and she has been so active. I'd like to introduce Susan Isaac and bring her to the stage. And let me tell you a little bit about Susan. And so Susan is an international artist that specializes in glass and fabric art design. She is a glass art teacher that has been sharing her craft with others for over 15 years. The funny thing that you may not know about Susan is that she bathed not once, but for a long period of time in a porcelain sink. And if you'd like to ask her about that story, I'm sure she'd be happy to share that with you. As a true Vancouverite, one of her favorite songs is Sway by Michael Bublé. And she has a couple of gifts that I'm going to let her announce because they're amazing. She's really kicking off this gifting and daring to receive. And you're going to need to listen very much to be the winner of her incredible glass art shopping spree. So, Susan, do you want to come on and just tell everybody a little bit about your gift? And then I know that we're going to have some conversation. And thank you so much for being here today. It's so happy to have you. And as we're talking, as you're telling people about your gift, I am going to show people some of the most incredible, and I am wearing her beautiful earrings. I'm going to show some of the beautiful things that you do, because sometimes people need that visual. They're like, fabric art, glass art, because, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? So go ahead and share a little bit about what everyone's going to get today. And then also, because you are going to be talking about gifts of inspiration and what one winner is going to win.
Okay, it's a wonderful pleasure to be here.
I'm gonna ban you. Just keep talking.
Okay.
Don't worry about me. I'm banning.
You're doing Vanna great. That was the zipper carry-all, by the way.
No, you keep talking. I'm going to show your. Yeah. We don't want to take you off time.
I sent a few samples in Deborah's favorite colors, actually. I have 10 art items, wearable art and fused glass pendant earrings for the VIP winner. And Deborah, I know I told you that the value of the 10 items is $618. I went back over the 10 items and kind of tweaked them, and they're now $638. So sorry, I did make a change.
Don't worry. So someone's going to win $640 worth of absolute gifts.
Yeah, and here's the thinking. I could have created an Ooh La La basket, gift basket, Ooh La La box, and chosen 10 items, but a big part of my philosophy is that I want women and I want people to fully express themselves, and I want them to make choices based on what speaks to them. So I couldn't make a gift basket. There are over 50 items for you to select from. So there are items that are in my studio, and if you're in the US or Canada, they will arrive before December 25th. And we'll work together, and I'll be giving you a list of the choices. And so in each category, you make the choice yourself. What speaks to you and what speaks to the person you have in mind for gift giving? Because that's a big part of my talk, is if you come from inspired action yourself, then the power and the inspiration that the receiver is going to experience is going to be exponential. So we'll work together and we'll get your package out the door. And it's beanie, zipper carry-all, scarves, neck, pendant, earrings, and all one-of-a-kind designs. A big example of one of my scarf designs is behind me, called Gorgeous Squares, and I have another one on my neck and a necklace, and I've got a scarf, and Vanna over here has been doing a wonderful display of various items that are possible.
I'm going to show them again at the end, but I think we've run right into the first question that I wanted to ask you is, I
Okay.
think you just described it when you're describing your gift. And so you guys are really, who doesn't want to win that? Right. And then, of course, she has a beautiful gift for everybody, an e-gift as well. But I know you just explained it almost live. I was going to ask you your definition of inspiring, like what is inspired action when you're gifting and creating from that place? What's that? Take us through
Yeah.
that.
There's only one little paragraph that I want to read to you, and then I will just be talking back and forth. And here's my question to you. Have you ever shut down your computer, put down your pen, your paintbrush, turned off the lights, and walked out of the room metaphorically and physically because inspiration has left you? Was it hard to walk out? Was it easy or something in between? Um, Inspiration is in Latin is inspiratus, in spirit, to breathe into, to dare to wait until you receive inspiration once again. Not knowing when you will breathe in inspiration again. Is it worth waiting, listening, staying and receiving mode? In receiving mode, sharing your gifts from inspired action, inspiratus, when that other voice is saying, hell, you know how to get her done. Let's do it and move on. So that's my introduction. It's
All
very
right.
tempting because you got the gremlin on one shoulder going, just get her done, girl. And the other one is saying, I'm committed to inspired action and I'm not feeling it right now. So that's the beginning of where I go from there. And the other part of that definition, Deb, and I can geek out so fast. I used to travel nationally to get on stage and talk about oral microbiology. So I can vibrate about certain things. And I went into a little bit of that neuroscientific research, but I stopped myself. I promise I won't go far with it. But basically, a complex process in the brain. It starts with alpha waves in the visual cortex, creating a sort of blink in the brain. And I'm leaving out at least 5 other steps in the process, which it leads to a vision of something very briefly in your mind's eye, and that is located in the pineal gland, and it goes on and on around that. And according to neuroscientific research, the best way to allow inspiration to surface is by disengaging your logic. And the whole concept is that inspiration's always there. It's just not always accessible to our conscious mind. And we must learn how to discipline the mind and disengage our logic in order to access inspiration. So there are ways that you can do this. And I think that one of the ways, if I can speak very briefly for Deborah, one of the ways that she opens up and allows inspiration, there's many other ways, is with music. And one of my ways is with music as well. And I'd love it in the chat if you would write down some of the ways that you allow inspiration to rise to the surface, and just know it never disappears. And it's not just, it's actually neuroscientific research that says inspiration does not go away. It's just blocked temporarily. And I think that's an important distinction that we all need to remember. And we all need to remember something else, is that we are all creatives. If you're human, you're a creative, not what society tells us creatives are. So that's your accountant, your nutritionist, your brand specialist, your writers, your speakers, your coaches. Everyone is creative, and we all have the ability to access that inspiration, but we need sometimes to unblock ourselves. What some other people do, I know a friend who she goes up to the front of if she's listening to a live webinar or a live talk, she actually plays solitaire on her phone while she's listening to someone. So what she's doing, and she says to the speaker, please don't think I'm ignoring you and that I'm looking at my phone doing other work. I'm playing solitaire because it opens me up and I can hear what you're saying better. And another Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, always talks about free writing association called the morning pages. That's another way of opening up. Yoga, breathing, dancing, walking, running. How many people said they got this brilliant idea while they were in the shower? And possibly if you sing in the shower, even better. And Einstein used to play the violin to help him solve math and physics problems. So after the talk, I'd love to hear your ideas on how you might be opening up to allow inspiration.
Well, thank you for that. It was like, all right, we are inspired. And I loved how you said that even, you're a nutritionalist, even your accountant, and we know that there is fun in numbers, and it is a creative process, right? It is a creative process to create, to find results. And I think what you were sharing is that a lot of times people will think that people in the arts are creative, or, like for someone like yourself, like, oh, it's an automatic, Susan is creative, but it's from that creative place that we get inspired. And I know that you talk a lot about that in what you do, because for you, getting out of your head and into that place of inspiration to be able to create something for someone else, you have something else that's moved you or inspired you. What are the other advantages? Because you say sometimes there's advantages and sometimes there's challenges as an entrepreneur to create from a place of inspired action.
Yeah. And my term of reference for entrepreneur and ultrapreneur is what I just talked about in terms of just knowing that we're all creatives and that it's just if you're human, you're creative. So that's my mindset and my term of reference. One of the challenges is when you're up against a deadline, you're up against your other blocks, things that have blocked your inspiration, you're just not feeling the inspiration right now, is to remember what the scientists know, and that is that inspiration has not disappeared, has not gone away forever. Your friend Sally does not have more than you have, that it's just temporarily not available to you right now. And believe me, when I've been in the studio at 2 a.m. and I've got a deadline and some of my other blocks are right in my face, I have to hold fast and stay strong and know, not believe, know that inspiration has just temporarily been blocked. And that takes me to the other challenge, which is find your blocks. And there's some very talented people in the 262 group and speakers and authors to help you find those blocks so that you can stay inspired, because this is really important, not just in the creative process of making, for example, me making art, but it's a coach creating a new program. It's someone making a custom service for one of your clients. I do custom pendants, for example, custom designs on fabrics, for example, as well. But it's, what are your blocks? And I'd love it if you put in the chat what you think some of your blocks are. What's temporarily blocking your inspiration? And an example for me of some of those challenges is, first of all, a deadline. Can do it for me. Getting starstruck. I've worked for people that are kind of famous and they're authors, and I have great admiration for them, and I can get starstruck and not stay present and not stay real and then get into wanting to impress and wanting that more than my vow that I have taken with myself to create from inspiration, breathe in, inspire, inspiratus, and come from that place. And people pleasing is a definite one for me, and wanting to be recognized. Um, One of the examples I can give you is early on in developing and creating custom pendants. I'm working with an author. This is yet another book, and there's a publishing deadline, and she wants a close-up of her pendant to be on the front of her book. And I'm already somewhat starstruck to begin with. Now there's a deadline. Now I want to impress. And now I'm wanting to be recognized to have a close-up of my glass on her next Amazon bestseller, for example. So a few things were in play. I got halfway through that pendant and inspiration I got blocked. I completely got in my own way. And at that point, the best way for me to unblock was to walk away. And I walked out of that studio for 3 weeks and didn't go back. And when I felt it was the right time, which means you have to listen to your body, you have to stay quiet sometimes. When I'm in inspiration in my studio and I've played my 5 songs in a particular order and start to open up, I'm working on a piece with tweezers, and my elbow will hit something, will just tap something slightly. And I look, and it's a piece of glass that's sitting way over there that I did not intend to use. I pick it up because the universe is saying, look at me, look at me. And I pick it up and I put it down, and it's perfect. So sometimes you have to do what a very wonderful coach, Liz Stone, said to me once: stop, drop, and listen. And that's sometimes part of that walking away and being quiet. I come back. I have missed the publishing deadline for the book, but I made the workbook deadline, and I finished the piece, and it turned out perfectly. She felt it was exactly her. That's the most important thing I can hear. And the close-up of her piece called I Am, which was also the name of her book, that her pendant graces the front of that workbook. So that's just one example of how I got in my own way and how I became unstuck, for example.
That's, I can hear the breath. When you said 3 weeks, every entrepreneur in here went, right? I mean, I think we expect that a little bit with authors. Like, we've all seen movies. Have we not all seen movies where an author has a writer's block and he needs his muse to unrelease that block, and he meets somebody in a coffee shop and there it is. I mean, it's very dramatic, but I can't imagine. I was like, you can hear people going, okay, I have to put my project aside for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 3 days or 3 hours or whatever it is, particularly if you have deadlines going on, or you've got people that, like you said, and thank you for your transparency. I mean, I love the fact that you said that there's coaches in this party that can help people with those blocks, that you come up against your own, and that you know what your own stuff is. I think a lot of us know what our own stuff is, but we're not going to stand on stage and talk about it like, oh yeah, like I'm worried about people pleasing, or, deadlines, or I get starstruck and it kind of jams me up. But in that place of creativity, because we are all creative, right? We're all creative. We're all doing something. So again, like if you're putting a project together or a book together, or, you're in media, or you're creating a presentation, like even people creating presentations for us, it's like, sometimes you just have to put it down, even though you are a little panicked. Maybe you got to go to bed and it's going to come to you in the middle of the night. Like producing the journals came at 4 a.m. And I was like, literally, I got to get up and write this down and then go back to sleep. Right. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's incredible. But to put something down for 3 weeks, that's quite the thing. And then waiting for that inspiration to come back. So that you may have already answered this question, but it's like, what is the impact on others when you create or you share your talents from that inspired action?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And that there is an impact. And I often think about the whole airplane analogy, put your oxygen mask on first because women are so good at giving. But here's the dare to receive challenge. What if you give out there in any way, shape, and form with your clients, with your loved ones, and you're giving from an inspiratus, you're giving from inspired action? That makes the giving so much more powerful because of where it's coming from. It's coming from in spirit, and it's an essence of you. It's a piece of you that you're giving. So that's just something to think about. So the best is for me to give you examples of a woman who said to me, I absolutely love my pendant. I feel powerful when I wear it. Well, how cool is that someone feels more powerful? And I have people that I've created pendants for them, or they've purchased ready-made ones, but what they want to do is wear it on stage. They want to feel that power when they're standing on stage. Another one is a woman whose pendant is called Embrace the Mystery. She said, Barbara Eady said, I love wearing my story close to my heart. So these are ideas that I get from other people. And a very beautiful woman was at a fundraising gala. The ballroom is crowded. And she's with her husband, and she's all, it was a very dress up gala, and she's a beautiful woman. And this young man around 21, 22 starts walking across the ballroom. And she says to her husband, Terry, I think he's coming over to tell me how beautiful I am. Which, I totally. And he walks over and he says, excuse me, ma'am, but I just have to tell you that I love your pendant. So, and Karen Mason, with her one of her custom pendants, she has more than one as it turns out. She had a very tall, sort of ruffy kind of looking man walk across the street, and she's going, come up to her, and he's got his finger like this, kind of vibrating a little bit. And he says, I just want to tell you, I love your pendant. So it's just lots of stories about people being attracted to the essence of myself in the energy, in spirit, and how that impacts. And then if it's a custom pendant, then it's co-creation. It's also the essence of the woman because we co-created together. And there are more stories, but that's all the examples I'm giving of the energy being that powerful, that of walking across a crowded room because of energy. And I've been to many markets, and I watch a woman and her finger runs back and forth along the choices, and it keeps stopping at a particular one. But she's saying, and she likes another one as well. And she says, I love this one, but I should really get this one because it's got more blue in it, and I have more outfits with blue, and it would go with more. And I have to tell you, when there is a partner with that person, I have never once in all these years of hundreds of people, when the partner is dialed into that person, say, honey, I think you should get the one that will go with more. No, that partner always says, honey, I notice that your finger keeps going to the other one. I think you really love this one. And what it is their essence, their energy is matching my energy that was used to make that pendant. So love the partners because they are actually paying really close attention often to the heart of the person who wants to purchase. And I basically look and I say, make sure that your purchase is what speaks to you. So that's my way of encouraging people to purchase. That's how I sell.
Yeah.
Buy what speaks to you. So
We're going
that's
to
my last example.
we're going to interject there because I know that we're wrapping up and we've hit
Yeah.
our time. But Susan, I know that you talked about that earlier about the person who is going to be winning, and how that's why you've chosen to give your gift in the way that you have, because of the way you've explained. And I think the essence of what you've just finished sharing for everyone that is out there and in a stage of creation, whatever that creation, I love how you've defined it as an inspired connection. Like
Hmm.
that woman's inspired connection to the piece, or that person walking across the room, or you having relationship with the person who's getting the scarf or the bag or the book or the, the story that you wrote about
Hmm.
how the book that you've produced. And it's all creative, but it's all energy, it's all connection.
Hmm.
And I love how you've defined it for yourself and for us as inspired action. Everyone, can we just show some Zoom love and Zoom appreciation for Susan? Thank you so much.